Happy New Year 2026. Welcome to the porch 321. I'm Sylvia Four, realtor with Coldwell Banker Realty, and
I'm Sherry Darmanine with Coldwell Banker Realty.
And I'm Linda Hollington with Coldwell Banker Paradise.
so we're going to talk about what the predictions are for the real estate market, more so in Florida. But we remember the volatility of past years. And the real estate market has had a change, and we've seen it. It's been gradual. We're in the field. We see it all. But the people, the economists and whatnot, they've got their predictions out there. And what they're predicting is we're moving away from that volatility that we had, and we are going toward a more normalized market, real estate market, starting to go towards the buyers, so buyer's market. I guess we're not officially in a buyer's market, but we're going towards that. Certainly,
we're more so in a buyer's market than a seller's.
I think
that's
so.
for sure.
Yeah. They're not really saying it yet, but it feels it to me.
And a lot of that is due to inventory.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of inventory and it's sitting on the market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We do have inventory that is sitting much to the chagrin of the sellers and the realtors for the listing agents, but they do get sold eventually because prices are sellers are starting to understand with the resources that these buyers have that they have to lower their prices, and we'll get into the details of why a little bit later on. I don't want to give anything away. But it's like a market in Florida. It's like a market of two different kinds. We have still some growth, very small, in some areas, and then a couple areas in Florida, the growth is starting to really come back, and that is Coral Gables, where they had the terrible hurricane.
Cape Coral.
Oh, Cape Coral. I'm sorry, and also Tampa. So, and the reason is the destruction was
very devastating in Cape Coral, and it's taken that particular area a long time to rebound. And with that rebounding also becomes the insurance premiums have skyrocketed in that area.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you have a lot of people that live on the west coast that are traditionally there only for the winter.
Nice.
So a lot of that rebuilding may or may not have taken place.
So our price appreciation for most of Florida itself is about maybe 0.5%, maybe 0.2%. So sellers have got to start getting real and actually pulling back and understanding. So I guess they call that the Gulf Coast correction.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Gulf Coast.
Miami, though, of course, remains an outlier. I'm not a big fan of Miami, but they do remain an outlier, and they're skyrocketing prices all the time, no matter what. It seems to be just that's
Miami
the way it is
will
in
always
Miami.
be a mecca.
It's a whole different
yeah.
animal unto itself.
It's actually considered a global
Hub.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of other, when you think of Paris, those kind
Yes.
of.
Yeah. So, but you can talk, Sherry, about the mortgages and how that's affecting what we're going to see in 2026.
Well, it's I kind of I'm on both sides of this mortgage situation.
Right.
A lot of buyers seem to be sticker shocked with mortgage rates,
Yeah.
and a lot of that is due to the fact that they were accustomed to mortgage rates a few years ago that were 2 or 3%, and realizing that the only reason why those rates were so low at the time was to bring us out of the pandemic and the economy having gone to a standstill. So that was a way of sparking, some type of back and forth with buying and selling, was to lower the interest rates enough to where people could afford to buy. So, and that worked for what it needed to be. And now in my opinion, we're at a normal mortgage rate area. Anywhere between 5 and 8% is really a normal mortgage rate.
And we're about 6 right now?
And we're about 6 something
Okay.
right now.
So
So that's a normal mortgage rate. That's not unusual compared to the 80s when it was like 17 and 18%.
20%.
Yeah. So I mean, it's all relative, and it all depends on how much information you have gotten and how much research you have done. So when buyers say that they're on the fence because of the mortgage rates, I have a tendency to say, well, first of all, you got to find the right house. If you find the right house in the right location and it's what you want, you're better off buying that home at maybe 6% and refinancing a few years down the road, as opposed to losing that house altogether. Because remember, you can't change the house. The rate you can change, but you can't change the house.
Sherry, don't you think, and Linda, don't you think that we've seen the sellers and buyers starting to come around? The buyers starting to accept the 6%,
Yes.
okay, and the sellers starting to accept, okay, we're no longer in that high price bracket. My home isn't worth. I think.
And a lot of the sellers
starting
price
to
their
see it.
homes so high because at the time a buyer could come in at 2 and 3% and afford that home at $500,000 as opposed to having to purchase it only $300,000. So, when they're looking at buying a property, they're saying, "Well, shoot, at 2%, I can buy this."
Yeah,
you know?
we also had the institutional investors.
Yeah, and then we had the institutional
Threw
investors,
everything
which
off.
kind of threw everybody off with buying all that up. But the buyers now have to take a look at everything like, okay, is this the house I want? And sellers have to take a look at the fact that what the payment's going to be. Your PITI payment, which is your principal and interest, taxes and insurance, your total package payment. If you can only afford $1,500, we can back that into a price, and we can say, Mr. Seller, this is what we're looking at as far as being able to reach that buyer. If you price it too high, you're going to price it to the point that nobody's going to want to pay $3,000 or $4,000 for a mortgage payment. Okay, when they're accustomed to paying $2,000 in rent, they don't want to pay a $5,000 mortgage. So that's what's kicking sellers out. So sellers have to come down a little bit and realize we're not in that 2% market. We're at a 6% market. So we need to price the property accordingly. And backing that into the payment is probably the best way to do it, which your realtor can help you do.
Yeah, and buyers need to come out and,
and
start,
realize that you can't wait for something to happen.
can't keep hiding. So,
If you see it and you like it and you want it, buy it.
right. And here we are in this beautiful, beautiful weather in January, and so
75 degrees.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nice
Well, Linda, what
I
is
have
your
a
prediction?
few thoughts on investment and migration data
Okay.
here for Florida, and it does make a difference. This nice weather. Florida continues to be a top destination for people. For 2026, the powers that be are saying we're going to attract 300,000 people to Florida this year.
Yeah.
If you're wanting to sell your home, that is good news for you. I have my own prediction. It's even more good news. I hope I'm right. But I think after this cold, terrible winter up north, we may see more people than that.
Yeah. I think
Because
so.
so many of our people come to Florida because you can get outside every day in Florida and enjoy the day. You cannot do it above.
Up north, yeah.
No, you cannot do it up there. So I think that we may even, nobody's mentioned that. I'm mentioning it.
Yeah, let's face it, and traditionally Florida has always been the retirement hub. Anybody that's retired from up north comes to Florida to retire, because of the weather, okay? But with this particular winter this year being so bad that everybody's trying to come now because they're tired of shoveling and scraping and
Ice.
Yeah.
They're making their plans, I guarantee you.
Falling.
Yeah. They've got tax season coming up. They're going to have some money.
Yep.
Okay. The other thing is that our cash deals, and you can look on our recording every month of, are they paying this way, or this way, they are down.
Yeah.
We just have a lot of cash deals. And in the investor purchases, and I'm talking about the big investors that buy up communities, are down from 50 to 70%. That includes all the investors, but it includes those as well. So
From 70 to 50%?
50 to
They're
70.
down
Oh,
from
they're-
buying.
They're down.
Okay.
So
They're not buying.
that's a lot of competition that is going away
Yep. So buyers.
for the
come out.
buyer. So that's good news. Our primary headwinds are going to be insurance and property tax. And
Yep.
I don't believe it's just Florida that's
No.
going to have these issues, because if you ever lived up north,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the season, you are fixing a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
after winter because they break. Pipes break, the roof leaks. I can't even go
Ice
into 'em.
on the roof that you got to go out in the middle of the winter and
Yeah,
chop off. And
I mean, you have got a lot of repairs
Yeah.
after, you know, you used to get someone to come out and have a look at it so you know what you have to fix. So I think all of those are going to drive a little bit more people down our way. Can be wrong, but I think it will.
So buyers and sellers take heart, right?
Yeah, it's now become a more balanced type market. We're approaching that as well. It's not going to be one-sided. So pricing is going to be very important whenever you're pricing your home to sell. And buyers are going to have to take a look at what they really want versus focused on interest rates and price. You know, everything is negotiable. You know, whether it be price of the home, whether it be commissions, even sometimes mortgage rates, all of that is negotiable. So when you look at a home, if it's exactly what you wanted, make an offer. Let's negotiate the price. You know, let's talk about how we can work it out.
Right.
You know, as opposed to buying what the sticker is. You know, you don't buy a car that way. Why would you buy a house that way? And I'm noticing that as much, you know, more and more as well, is that buyers aren't willing to negotiate.
They don't seem to understand that that's part of it.
Yeah, you know, they look at the sticker and they say, oh no, you know, that's too high or whatever.
They won't even go and look.
Yeah,
Go look.
go look. You know, you never know.
Negotiate with your realtor, right?
Yep,
Right.
Okay.
your realtor can help you negotiate a deal,
All
and
right.
it can be outside of the interest rate. So
If you go to buy a car,
yeah,
do you just go and take the sticker and think, oh no, I can't afford this car? Or do you go in and you get somebody to talk to and you say, you know, I think I really like that car, but I'd like it a whole lot better if you could take about $5,000 off of it. And I could go for that today and drive it away. What do you think you could do? And we do that all the time.
yeah.
But when it comes to real estate, we don't realize that everything in that contract is negotiable.
And when in mentioning a car, that's even more so relevant because when you're purchasing a car, I can afford $200 a month. Okay, that I can't afford my car payment to be any more than that. So they back in the price
Right.
based on what your ability is to pay. Well, you know you can do the same thing with a house.
That's a negotiation.
That's negotiate, but you can back it in.
But
If
you expect to do that when you go to buy a car.
Right.
But when you buy a house, you have forgotten
Yeah.
that you can do that.
Yeah. So, you know, you have a good realtor that understands the market, understands negotiation, and understands what you as the buyer are looking for. That's what you want. You want somebody that's going to be able to be on your team and be able to back in that payment for you. So, you know, that's a discussion you need to have with your realtor. You know?
Yep. So we want to close it up.
I will wrap it up my usual. Again, this is the Porch 321. We are on YouTube, and we would very much appreciate it if you would like and subscribe,
Right.
please, to our channel. We plan on having more informational videos such as this coming forward, and we hope that you'll stay tuned. And please don't forget to like us on Facebook also.
All right.
Okay, we have a Facebook page as well. So please like and subscribe.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
See you again
Have
next
a good
time.
day.
Bye.